Computers will get notice of the fact that it started the recording. And we are started. All right. With that, I'm going to open it up. I said, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for attending. I'm Karen Gardner-Young, the zoning administrator for the city of Green Acres. I'd like to start off with the introduction of the participants. This is the City of Green Acres Development and Neighborhood Services Recreation and Open Space Element Workshop. You all have been noted as stakeholders for us. And I will start off first. Let's start with the city representatives. So again, Karen Gardner-Young, zoning administrator. Jean, you want to go next?
Jean Francois, Recreation Supervisor for Athletics with the City of Green Acres. CRS Department, Community and Recreation Services Department.
Okay. Ivy, you want to go next?
Yes, I am also in the Community Recreation and Services Department. I am the parks attendant, one of the parks attendants that we have. So yeah, that's me.
Perfect. Michelle?
Michelle Thompson, Director of Community and Recreation Services for the City of Green Acres.
I think, is there anybody else I missed who's here from the city? I don't think so. All right, let's go next.
Carlos was going to join us, so I don't know if he's, Carlos was?
No, he's not here yet.
Okay.
I will start with Palm Beach County. Any representatives from Palm Beach County? Jean? Oh. I know Jean is here. I think you're from Palm Beach County, right, Jean? Can't hear you. Oh, I know Michelle's shaking her head. So I believe we got Palm Beach County represented. And how about Palm Beach Sports? I know we got a couple of people from there. George, I think you're one.
Yep, I'm George Lindley, Executive Director of the Sports Commission.
Okay. Anybody else?
Scott Galinsky. I'm our Senior Business Development Manager.
Perfect. Anybody else?
Director of Sports Development.
I'm sorry, your name?
Glenn Allen.
That's Glenn Allen. I think he was just having a little phone issue there.
Glenn Allen. Okay, great. Glenn Allen, and I think somebody else just joined us. Oh, Loris joined us. Loris, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Laura Espailles, and I'm Recreation Supervisor at the Community and Recreation Services Department.
Great. And I know that we have some stakeholders of interest. I think, Brian, you're with us?
Yes, ma'am. This is Brian Meyer from Beaches Adult Soccer League, BASL Soccer. I'm Head of Operations and Director of League Enhancement.
And Kristen?
I'm Kristen Martin. I'm actually the Community Inclusion Specialist with the ARC of Palm Beach County and also a City of Green Acres resident.
Excellent. Did I miss anybody? Hearing none. All right. So again, like to welcome everybody to the stakeholders meeting. The purpose of this meeting is the City of Green Acres is going through a comprehensive plan review. And our comprehensive plan is required to be adopted by every municipality and county within the state of Florida. It's basically a vision document. It's a long-term document. So we're talking things 10 years, 20 years down the road. And every 7 years, we're required to look at what we have. And since the City of Green Acres has changed from population demographics, from size, we felt it really was an opportune time for us to take a look at each one of our elements to determine how we should change it, if it needs to be changed. And so one of the elements that we're reviewing today is the recreation and open space element. I attached, I believe, to my invitation was our existing language. But really what I want to do today, with all of you having interest in different ways for us, whether you're a resident of Green Acres or you work for Green Acres or with the county or with a sports organization, we really want to hear from you on, how the City of Green Acres can, in the next 10 to 20 years, what should we do? What should we look like? Are there trends here? Are there things missing that we can work cooperatively with? Are there facilities that maybe, Kristen, is you're a resident, is there facilities or things that you would like more of? And that's really, it's not for me to do the talking. I'm not a parks person. I go to them, but I don't know much about them. So I'm really just the facilitator. So I didn't want to spend a lot of time. We have about 50 minutes to just kind of bring out the ideas, things that you've thought about, things that you feel we should consider, things that I need to bring to the attention of the city council. Because we have recorded this, and I will be bringing, the information that has occurred during this workshop to them, so they're aware from a policy perspective if there's things that they should be looking at. So with that, I'm really going to open up now. I do have open discussion items, but I'm not stuck on those. So I really, if somebody wants to kind of open up and start a conversation, like I said, or we can go to the first question and we can start there. I'm going to kind of leave it free flowing if that works for everybody. If not, I'll go more structured, but I thought it's better if it just everybody feels they have an opportunity to kind of bring some insight or bring some knowledge to us so that we're aware of it. So with that, I'm going to kind of open it up. Whoever wants to take the first stab, maybe Michelle, maybe you start us off with your perspective first, if there's anything that you kind of want to hear from them. Otherwise, I'm going to just say, somebody take that step over the cliff for me.
Can you hear me? I'll
Yes.
start as far as I'm wondering from those that are on the call or on the meeting if we need to address anything to increase our equity, and inclusion within the current park system before we go on to creating other new amenities or adding additional features to any of our parks or new parks.
Okay, so the question is, should we be increasing an equity approach to our current park system? If the answer is yes, and you have any recommendations, or maybe from your experiences from other jurisdictions, maybe you can bring forth some of those ideas for us. So anybody, like I said, want to take that step over the cliff for me?
I'll take that step for you. This is
Great.
Brian Meyer, BASO Adult Soccer. So looking at it not only from the adult soccer point of view and a partner of City of Green Acres, I believe that maybe hiring some more staff, maybe putting that in the budget to be able to help make a good eye on the parks and be able to I would say just be able to supervise a little bit better and eventually those, cause right now, every time working with you guys, it seems like the park attendants and everybody's stretched very thin. So I would say just maybe bolster a little bit of employment in the area. That's where I'll start.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. We actually have another full-time parks attendant budgeted for FY23, hopefully so.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that will help with that a little bit.
Jean, I don't know if you got the opportunity with your with the speaker at all. I thought maybe from the county's perspective, is there something that you have implemented from the equity perspective or something that you're seeing as a trend that Green Acres should be aware of?
Can you hear me? Because I can't
Yes, I can.
talk through the computer. Okay.
Perfect.
One of the huge trends we're really seeing is a high demand for recreational off-road trails, which Green Acres does a very good job of. And the other thing is we are constantly building pickleball courts and not being able to keep up with the demand. And the other thing, up at Carlin Park, we're putting in sand tournament quality volleyball courts because it's now a sanctioned high school sport. So I think you're going to see some demand for pickleball and also sand volleyball courts.
We actually just put in, was it 4 sand volleyball courts at Freedom Park?
Yes, I believe it's 4, and I did hear that statement about an increase in demand for sand volleyball. I did hear that as well.
Okay. Can I jump in here on the volleyball situation? So as far as volleyball, just being at the parks, I haven't seen
I think you're off.
She's off. I can't hear her.
Yeah, it looks like she froze. Oh, maybe she'll undo. We'll get back to Ivory when she pops up. So Jean, tell me, is there something that the city of Green Acre, we're kind of centralized? Is there something that we can work in a partnership with the county towards anything? I know you mentioned the pickleball courts and the volleyball courts. Is there something that you're doing a directive, or you have a strategy that you're implementing that Green Acres should be aware of or should be involved with?
Well, I know we just got a request for a pump track, which is like a BMX track, only I guess it doesn't have pedals, but we just got a request for that, and we're looking for possible locations and seeing if it's even something we want to do. Yeah, no, the demand on recreation has never been higher. And during COVID, everybody discovered the parks, and now that they've discovered them, they're coming back to the parks. I mean, we're very busy. It's nice to see everybody recreating.
Great.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so yes, what I was saying is, what I've seen from volleyball is two things. I haven't seen a lot of use of the sand volleyball pits yet. And I'm saying that could be due to two things. One, maybe we could do some marketing, let people know that they're there. And then the other part of it is it might be because the decision about volleyball in the high school sports hasn't been broadcasted, and they haven't yet begun to play. But that's just what I've seen from volleyball. I haven't seen a lot of use, but maybe in the future there will be. I think before any other moves are made towards volleyball, I think I would like to see what the use is like. As far as pickleball, I definitely think that's something that we should consider adding more. But I would say it's the same thing. You got to kind of keep an eye out on the usage, the times of usage, and I also think making the space adaptable. So if we do add more pickleball courts, if the trend does leave us, then we want that space to be easily converted into another sport or space.
Great.
No,
Thank you.
I think that, and this is Jean again, I think that's a really good point. We've converted some of our tennis courts to pickleball courts, but if the trend ended, we could easily convert them back.
Correct.
Yeah, I kind of saw that where softball went away for a while. So they converted those fields to soccer and football fields. So, I mean, that's something that I think in your field, and I'm talking about recreational sports, you always have to be on top of, and, you have to know where in the, I always say it, in the hill, where you don't want to be at the bottom when it's already leaving, but so you got to figure out when you join in and start on it. But yeah, I know pickleball is I think the fastest growing sport right now that's out there, because it's easier to play than tennis, obviously, and it can be a team sport, doesn't have to be a team sport, so from that perspective. But George, let me hear from you guys on the sports commission to kind of talk to me. What do you think that Green Acres could do, should do, or assist, or kind of give me a feel from your opinion on where you think the field is going?
Sure. And I'll start, and then I'll definitely, Scott and Glenn are on the front lines in terms of understanding what sports are out there for bid and in terms of recruitment to the county. Just to understand about our sports commission, we are a 501c3, but we're contracted by Palm Beach County. So we're a contracted agency, and our mission is to develop tourism through sport. We fall within the Tourist Development Council for the county. There's a sports commission, Discover the Palm Beaches, which is our CVB, a cultural council, and a film and TV commission. And our primary source of funding is bed tax. So I bring that up because our role for the county, as I said, is to develop tourism through sport. We're really an economic development, a tourism development agency. So parks and recreation is vital to us. Obviously, the number one provider for venues in terms of hosting events is Palm Beach County Parks and Recreation, who's who's a great ally and a great partner of our sports commission. You hit on some topics that we're already seeing. You mentioned pickleball. It's definitely recognized as one of the fastest growing sports in the United States. There's organization that's trying to be, or it's a sport that's trying to get organized. There's a couple competing governing bodies on the international level. There's a USA Pickleball. Scott has been one of our aces in terms of supporting pickleball events. He's worked with a few events that's been sanctioned by USA Pickleball and the Association of Pickleball Professionals. And we're seeing, and I've read a lot of literature about the number of pickleball courts that are tennis courts at both public and private facilities that are being converted to pickleball courts. In our county, in terms of where there's growth opportunities, there right now we don't truly have a non-existing for us as a true indoor sport venue. There are some recreational complexes that we utilize. We can utilize our convention center and our fairgrounds, but we don't really have a indoor sports venue. There are several municipalities right now that I'm aware of having discussions. I do think it's an opportunity to capture a market that the county doesn't have. And then the other area is we never can find enough rectangular multi-purpose fields. And particularly rectangular multi-purpose fields where you have a cluster together. And so if we're looking to bring a statewide, regional, or national event to a community and to the county, and we partner with a lot of municipalities as they, just like the county, understand the balance. Sometimes we would displace local news, but how our efforts will help the business community, help hospitality related companies when we're hosting a national event and bringing in visitors to the area. And that is one type of asset that we just don't have enough of. And there's only a few public venues that you could see 4 or 5 multi-purpose fields or greater than that in one setting. And that's a neat area. So, Glenn or Scott, do you want to add in terms of areas or maybe opportunities that we don't see in this county?
No, yeah, I mean, I definitely think you hit it for sure, George. I think, a couple big things for us is just that facility development. Me and Glenn, that's what we do. We try to go after new events and bring them here. And, obviously with, as everybody said, the demand in recreation and sports being so high, there's only so many dates to go around at so many venues. So, that's, if someone was looking at a 10 or 15 or 20-year plan, one thing I would definitely say is just look at your facility infrastructure and see where you might be able to, even increase the number of facilities that there are, like you're just saying, George. And then, one thing I definitely think would be great for this group is just utilizing us as a sports commission as a resource arm as well. We do a good job of trying to keep track of everything that's happening in this county, but there are stuff sometimes that goes on that we may not know is taking place here. So if there's, ever an event that, you think would be even just worthy of just, crossing our desk or whatnot, reach out by all means and let us know. And, if we can certainly be a resource, we are, here to try to do so. So I would definitely say, I know we learned from hoteliers to other events, event owners that, about events that are taking place here that we may not have had had a grasp on. So I would definitely say, even just if it's nothing else, let us know what, you all have going on in your neck of the woods. And, if we can be a resource, I think, we'll do everything we can to do what we can.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Glenn, you have anything to add?
Glenn might be having phone trouble.
No, I think he's. Go ahead, Glenn.
Can you all hear me?
Not really. Hold on one second here. Okay. Yeah, he's all set. I think he's having some phone issues.
Okay, great. Kristen, I know we didn't have a chance. I know you're involved in numerous roles in this conversation. Give us some of your thoughts.
First of all, I love the idea of an indoor kind of complex, especially when it, rains. I myself do walking in the evening. Sometimes I do at Green Acres Park, sometimes I do not. But, if it's, nasty out or whatever, I think it'd be nice to even have like a nice walking area to be able to do it inside. So I love that idea. My other thought, so when Michelle had mentioned inclusion, I have not been to a lot of your parks, like the playgrounds, but are your parks, do you have one that's like fully inclusive? Like I know the city of Boynton does, they have their Boundless Park. I don't know if Green Acres has anything like that. Perhaps that might be something to look into as well, making sure that it's a completely accessible area for anybody to be able to access. Also thinking about, kids who have sensory issues, adding in some sensory things into the park. Also, handicap accessible swings, those kinds of things. That's where my mind kind of goes as well.
And Michelle,
Thank you. Yep. We don't have a true inclusive playground or play structures in any of our parks. So
I think if you're looking obviously to build future parks, or if you're going to modify any of your current parks, your playgrounds, I guess I should say, maybe looking at creating them so that they are inclusive for anybody who wants to come and play.
Scott, let me ask you, you talked about doing an indoor facility. Are there any P3s that you're aware of that are around to help with financing such a facility? Scott, I don't know.
Who are you asking? I'm sorry.
Oh, Scott, Glenn, or George, because you're the guys suggesting the interior facility. I didn't know, as the sports commission, have you seen P3s or something? I mean, this is a substantial, obviously, infrastructure cost. So we'd be looking, if it's something we want to recommend, we want to make sure that we look at different options. Have you had that in the past where you've had?
Well, I'm aware of, there's discussions right now with a few municipalities, and yes, like for example, the North County, the Gardens North County District Park, which is county land. It's was county parks and recreation space. There's an interlocal agreement with the city of Palm Beach Gardens that utilizes the venue for their recreational needs. Our sports commission has an end user agreement. We have a priority in terms of if we want to bring a national event to the county that creates a tourism impact. So we utilize the venue, and right now there's 10 total multi-purpose fields, FIFA soccer spec fields. And it's just an absolutely gorgeous park. And the long-term plan has for an indoor recreational complex to be placed on this property. And the way it's being handled is they've actually, early on, they sent out an RFP, and the city of Palm Beach Gardens with the county on a committee looked at proposals. There was one proposal came in. It was a nonprofit. It was they were going to bank finance a portion of it and then fundraise to the remaining dollars. And COVID happened, and it changed up the whole timeline and the schedule. The Village of Wellington right now, I was at a town council meeting this past Tuesday. So they had a public meeting. They're reviewing a partnership with a nonprofit that has current and former athletes behind it, and they're looking to bring funding to the table. But there would be a working relationship with the Village of Wellington, and it's being discussed. It's being analyzed. There's a market opportunity report that's happening right now. So you're looking at a potential public-private partnership that could happen there, but there's a lot of testing that still needs to be done. So there's a couple of ways to go about it. If the city of Green Acres has the land and has the desire and wanted to pursue that avenue, then trying to identify a partner, and either through an RFP process or with the Village of Wellington, in this case, they were approached, and now they're making it public, and they're considering it. So those are, there's ways to do it. I will say, you're right. The costs could range. I've seen, depending on the size and the functionality. I mean, I think the last two projects I was talking about are $35 to $45 million. And who knows, with the cost of construction and the situation we're in right now, if every day those projects can become more rich. But those are a couple ways you can go about it. It is, if I had a dollar for every great facility idea and facility concept that I've heard at my time at the Sports Commission, I could retire. I think part of it, part of it, getting it to the next level, is the funding solution. And whether it's a group that actually has the funding and is not asking for public funding, or if there's a county or municipality that has the need, the desire, and the ability to take it on themselves, and that's always the difference maker in whether or not this great idea comes to fruition. So.
And would the indoor complex be a multi-facility, multi-sport, or would it be sports specific?
It would be, so in the conversations that I've heard, within the Village of Wellington, it'd be a training center for local athletes. So that would be a profit-driven endeavor that would help pay for the financing of the venue. But there would be an interlocal agreement where the village would be able to utilize the venue, have a certain amount of utilization time for recreational purposes and for hosting events that would be on a statewide, regional, or national level that would bring visitors into their community to hopefully spend dollars there that are not residents. And that's where we would come in. So that's how that's structured. There was the original concept, and I'm not really sure where it's at right now, but this is something that I've heard. This is a sport, believe it or not, that's growing in the state of Florida. And the concept within the city of Palm Beach Gardens was going to be a recreational complex, and there was certain aspects that the county and the city wanted to see that they believe is needed, but the nonprofit, one of the driving forces of their idea was around that recreational complex was to bring in 2 or even 3 sheets of ice, and they would cater to ice sports. And there has been several discussions. Palm Beach County had Palm Beach Skate Zone for a while. We have 3 sheets of ice. We have, then Palm Beach Ice Works came to life, which has a sheet of ice, beautiful venue. Now the city of Boca has a venue that's dedicated to ice sports, the Boca Ice and Fine Arts Center, that's being privately funded. And there was conversation about an ice venue as part of this movement and gardens. And I think Scott and Glenn would attest that we have hosted several ice sports right now, and the participation has been unbelievable. The tourism impact has been unbelievable, and we have limited venues as it is, and it's a growing sport. And even there was an article in the Palm Beach Post, I don't know, several months ago, and it talked about, it was featuring an ice event that was here, and how even real estate agents are touting the demand for ice sports in Florida and in Palm Beach County, because when you have a lot of those from the Northeast that were looking to relocate here, their kids are playing ice hockey, and you can do it here in Florida. They're popping up everywhere. So,
Karen, wasn't there some talk about converting Skateway to an ice skating facility?
Yeah, there was somebody who was interested, but I haven't heard anything further.
Okay.
So I appreciate that discussion was really good regarding the ice sports. I'm just looking for, on a smaller scale, from a tourism perspective, is there one sports or one type of facility, again, on a smaller scale, that would lend itself to generating more economic benefit to the city of Green Acres than another would, from your perspective?
I think, and Glenn, several years ago, probably, it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and Glenn Allen was with me, and we had a meeting with the city of Green Acres and the city manager, I think Andrea, and we just were talking, and I think we just talking about some potential avenues of opportunity. And there was a connection. Glenn has worked on a lot of various both national and international soccer events. And there was talk about potential partnership and bringing a soccer team into Green Acres to train. And one of the conversations that I believe we had, but that we do have a lot, is in terms of a stadium environment. We have we have a couple options. You have your high school stadiums, right? And then you have FAU Stadium, which is a 30,000 seat stadium, and we host events there, but to turn on the lights, there's a significant cost just to turn on the lights and a significant effort to maneuver a stadium like that. And a lot of the events, there's a lot of events that need a stadium environment. They don't necessarily need the 4 to 5 to 12 multi-purpose fields, but they're looking for a stadium environment. And if FAU Stadium is too big, we really don't have an option, or we'd have to build it out. There has been conversations again with other potential developers, and I think it's obviously about funding and land, about the development of a 6 to 8 to 9,000 seat stadium, which would lend itself to some other economic development opportunities that just don't exist here. And I think at some point we'll probably see that in our county, but that is something that there's an opportunity there that we don't have. And the other, as I've said before, rectangular fields. When we need to when we're looking to host an event that's bringing in, when you start to get 40, 50, 60, 80 plus teams, outside of Village Park in Wellington, which we just hosted a 130 team lacrosse tournament over in May at Village Park. They have 16 lighted fields outside of Village Park and the North County District Park with 10 fields all in one setting. Our next best bet is 4 fields. We don't have that option. We haven't utilized the International Polo Club, and we have placed 4 to 6 lacrosse fields, soccer fields, flag football pitches, rugby fields on a polo field. And so we've hosted 400 plus lacrosse team tournaments, 200 plus team field hockey tournaments and soccer events. But outside of that, we can never find enough multi-purpose fields. And if there's opportunities to build or to develop more multi-purpose fields, and I think Green Acres, you have one at Freedom Park, and I think there might be 1 or 2 somewhere else, but correct me if I'm wrong. From both a recreational standpoint and a potential to even if you had 4 fields, you could host a small tournament that could bring in new visitors to your area, 4 or 5 fields. We just can't. We can't find enough supply to meet the demand of potential events that we have here in our other municipalities, and our county even tells us that it seems like we can just never find enough multi-purpose fields.
You're right about that. That's for sure. And
I love talking about multi-purpose.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Michelle. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was going to ask about turf versus, natural fields. Is there any kind of consensus on what's better? What some of these other international or professional leagues or, tournaments are looking for, or does it matter?
That's a great question. And you're seeing, and I know the county and our county parks could talk with more authority to it, but I know the county has a plan they've already started, and over the next couple of years, they're converting on their parks and rec venues a good number of grass fields to synthetic turf venues. And I think it was somewhere between 19 to 23 fields, but the parks can speak with more authority. And the debate is part of it is the upfront cost, but then the cost advantages that you can gain on maintenance and greater use. There are sports that play better, that lend themselves better to grass. Like if you're talking about hosting a high caliber soccer exhibition or bringing in an international or national soccer team to train, they're going to want to be on grass fields. Now, FAU Stadium, FAU's talking about converting their grass field, which is beautiful for not only football, but for soccer, but into synthetic turf field. And we probably will lose the opportunity to host some of the great soccer events that we've held there. But I do think it's a worthy discussion. And if you had 4 multi-purpose fields that were synthetic turf, you could probably get a lot more mileage out of them, a lot more use. And if the city wanted to dive into the sports tourism world as an economic development opportunity, it would help with the balance of being able to host events that are attracting teams from outside the area, but still be able to maintain your strong level of local programming.
And do you find that small-sided soccer is a trend, or is it here for life? Do you know? I mean, because I know that we have some leagues that play that way, but other leagues that want to play, you know, full field size.
Well, and I don't know if Glenn could weigh in on this. I don't know if he's on. This year, 2 of our largest events on an amateur sports level were soccer based. The largest took place at Gardens North County District Park, because we had 10 multi-purpose fields there. One was it's like a girls' academy, a deep development player league that sanctioned by USSSA. We had 250 plus girls soccer teams from, I believe it was 12 or 13U all the way up to 19U. A huge event. There was probably 10,000 total visitors, at least 4,000 to 5,000 athletes, and enormous event. And it's coming back, and they're telling us that the participation could be higher. There was a lot of pent-up demand because of COVID. And prior to that, we hosted a 3v3 soccer event, and over the 10 fields, and I don't know if I'm thinking of estimating we had like 30 plus. I knew the exact number at one point, but 3v3 fields and 260 teams over close to Thanksgiving week. Yeah, it's right over Thanksgiving weekend.
Yep.
About 5,000 or 6,000 athletes. It's coming back. That was also in terms of like overnight accommodations. It wasn't as much as DPL, but it was probably 2,500 hotel room nights. So I think both sports seem to be prominent. Glenn, I don't know, you want to weigh in? Am I accurate in saying that both are, one's not stealing market share from the other?
Are you all able to hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I would say the small-sided soccer is growing, particularly from a local recreational side, and we've seen the county is used, I think, a couple of fields at John Prince Park to work with a 5-sided soccer group. But I would say from a majority is still the 11v11, and most of the major tournaments are still in the 11v11. And even our client, the 3v3 live soccer that George was speaking of, he says his target audience are families and players that love soccer and are already doing travel soccer 11v11, but just want a little bit more. And so they kind of do 3v3 live to help hone in their skills and stuff like that. So it's more of a niche group. So I would definitely say the 11v11, but you can kind of carve out, I guess, a little bit of area with the small-sided. But 11v11 fields you can usually fit 2 to 3 small-sided fields on there. So I still always feel you get the most bang from your buck with a full-sided field.
Because you can always divide it up anyway, like Brian does for, his adult soccer that we have. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Brian, any further thoughts? I know you started us off at the beginning, just on some of the discussion we've had here.
Sure. I just made some notes, and I thought the cover or the comments on walking outside when it's wet, or going for walks when it's wet, with Green Acres Freedom Park, would it be possible if we were to be able to cover it with an awning, possibly with solar panels, and then people would still be able to enjoy the outdoors while it's raining, but they wouldn't be getting wet, and then those solar panels on top of the awning, which they have a similar one in Gardens District Park as well, or actually it's Russo Park. That might be, or I think that would be a really great thing to kind of invest in. I thought the fully handy-capable park, all-inclusive, is something that City of Green Acres should definitely invest in. To back up what George was saying, he hit the nail on the head with the indoor facilities. Palm Beach County really doesn't have a premier one. And that's big all around the country. For the longest time in Florida, we fought it off because they're like, oh, it's great, we'll just go outdoors and play. However, when those severe thunderstorms come through and they rain on the grass fields, we're displaced, if you will. I also thought that the transition, I want to end with complimenting the City of Green Acres. I think the transition of converting the field space previously, I believe it was softball, and putting pickleball, volleyball, and multi-purpose field space out there. Every time I go out to the park, it's quadrupled the amount of participation than it was in previous years when that wasn't converted. So I think that was a really great, outstanding thing that happened. And I appreciate everybody having me on this call with you. George, I'll be reaching out to you about a self-defense camp seminar that I'm looking to do. So expect an email from me. Thank you all.
Right. That's great.
Let me ask
Thank
you,
you, Rob. Great partner. We appreciate working.
Yeah.
Kristen, tell me a little bit. You're the Green Acres resident. Do you feel safe within the city's parks? Do you feel, again, we had a little bit of discussion with Brian on, infrastructure maintenance, but tell me kind of what your thought is regarding the existing parks or where you would like to see money spent.
Like I said, I don't frequent them all. And I don't know the formal names of all of them, but the one that's on 10th Avenue and Jog, I have been to that one several times. My nieces have taken their camp kids there a lot, and they absolutely rave about the new playground. I mean, they love it. And then the other park that I go to, and again, I don't know all the names, is the one that's by the middle school, by Okehele.
Mhm.
I know that one has, what's the name of it, Michelle?
Freedom Park?
Freedom. So that one I know has great walking trails. And then also I've heard a lot of great feedback on the bike trails that are over there. And then I live close to one that has basketball hoops over on Purdy.
Veterans? Yep.
Okay, see, I got Michelle here to help me with all my names. That one, I don't know. It's always very well lit, but I don't frequent that one. But yeah, I mean, I would say I feel very safe to go to any of the parks.
Lourdes, I know you joined us later. I didn't know if you wanted to comment or give you the opportunity to partake.
Oh, no, I kind of agree with what everyone has said. I'm also a Green Acres resident for like 20 something years. When my kids were smaller, yeah, Rambo Park it actually got fixed now, so I'm happy about it. We don't really go much to the parks. I have daughters and they don't do soccer and things like that. You guys have been mostly so field related. But yeah, we don't really frequent them as much anymore. It is hot. An indoor facility would be nice, definitely. I actually wish we had an indoor pool. The kids can go because my daughters don't, they don't do basketball, they don't do soccer, and so, something for the teenage girls will be nice. But yeah, an indoor facility, I'm pro for that as a resident. Mm-hmm.
Pools are always hard. Probably about 10% of the population uses a pool, so it's always tough and they're very expensive to maintain. You get a leak in a pool, you
Yeah.
talk about saving
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, that's for sure.
We go to other towns for that.
There you go. All right. Well, Michelle, I'm going to leave it up to you. Any other questions, comments, concerns you want to hear from the group?
What about, I know you had mentioned a pool is really expensive, but what about like a splash pad? Even anywhere where the kids could go if they needed to cool off or, during the summertime. I know John Prince has one. I know Wellington has a pool, but I know that there's been a lot of mention, even being at Green Acres, the community center, there's been a lot of mention of wanting a pool or
Right.
some kind of a water area.
Oh, thanks.
We are going through kind of a complex master plan. So we are looking at revitalizing the youth programs building and building their own building. And in that conversation, it's kind of rearranging, the athletic amenities that we already have here in this complex, and then possibly finding room to put a small splash pad in that area. So we just have to figure out, the expense of the building itself and then what's going to happen in the future for that. But yeah, that was proposed many, many years ago, because, it's a little more cost effective, versus a, large in-depth pool, right? So, yep. Great need.
Yeah, I
That's for
remember the kids talking about it.
Correct. Yeah, they had done a whole proposal. Mhm.
Well, I'll go back, Michelle. Any other information that you would like to relay or get from the people who are on this, at this workshop?
I'm just wondering, those that we invited that weren't able to attend, if they could submit something in writing to us, Karen, if that's possible, so we just
I
continue.
can follow up.
That would be great. Yes, we would appreciate that. And if you have anybody that, you want to share this information with, or, invite to comment on for us, we would truly appreciate that as well, I think, just so that we have a little more informed information, and, it's holistically driven, which is really important for us. So we are very centrally located. We know that we cater to all kinds of summer camps that come through our city, from Jupiter to, from wherever, and use our parks. So we need to be conscious of that influence in the future.
Great. Well, just for the residents on board, we have a survey that's out there for anybody to partake. It's on our website to provide us some opinions back, not just on the parks and rec element, but on all elements. And we plan on having 2 community meetings, which will also give another opportunity to provide us comments. One will be in September, one will be in October. As we get closer, we'll be providing the date and time. One will be during a weekend, a Saturday, the other one will be in the evening. Knowing people's schedules, we wanted to provide the greatest opportunity for input. And any last thoughts or comments from anybody? Not hearing any. Again, thank you all for attending. We really appreciate this. Outreach is extremely important in this process, and we appreciate you spending the time to provide us your opinions. You all have a great afternoon and a good evening.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.